In today's lesson 8-9, we will solve multi-step inequalities. So just like multi-step equations, we're going to have variables on both sides. There's going to be distribution, all those things going on. We just need to take it step by step and work through our problem. So the first thing I'll do here is I'll copy this problem down. Eventually we will be expected to graph the solution. Let's go ahead and copy this down. B minus 5 plus B is greater than 1. So let's go ahead and combine our like terms. So we have 2b plus negative 5. Let's go ahead and change that subtraction to addition. Is greater than 1. Let's add 5 to both sides. Remember, when you're adding or subtracting, your sign doesn't change. So you just bring your 2b down. And we're going to have greater than. You bring your symbol down. It didn't change because we're just adding and subtracting. And this will be 6. Then we divide both sides by 2. Now we are dividing here, but we're dividing by a positive number, so the sign stays the same. So I'm going to end up with B is greater than 3. And that will be my solution. Now I need to go ahead and graph that solution. So 3 is my number. I am not including 3, so that means I need an open circle. If it was greater than or equal to, then I would close the circle and include it in my value. And since B wants to be greater than 3, I'm going to go ahead and draw my arrow to the right, which means greater than. Okay, so again, copy the problem down. Negative 3 times n plus 4n is less than 6. Let's combine our like terms. So we're going to have n is less than 6. So that one, actually, there wasn't a whole lot for us to do there. Now, again, we're not including 6, so let's just put an open circle right on 6. And since n is supposed to be less than, let's go ahead and draw the arrow to the left, because we need n, the variable, to be less than or a smaller number than 6. Okay, so now we're getting a little bit more going on here. I see I have variables on both sides. So let's first start by copying the problem. You can change your subtraction to addition if you want while you're copying. So v plus negative 8 plus negative 3 is less than or equal to, so that tells me my circle is going to be filled in at the end, 13 plus negative 2v. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to combine like terms. I do have some things on the left-hand side that I can combine. Nothing over here on the right. So let's go v plus negative 11 is less than or equal to 13 plus negative 2v. Alright, so for the sake of doing this problem, I'm going to go ahead and move this v. I know normally we would get rid of the smaller one, but just for this problem, I am going to move this one just to show we can do it either way. So I'm going to subtract a v from both sides, draw my line. Since I am subtracting, I'm not dividing or multiplying, so that does nothing to my sign. So I'm going to bring my sign straight down. This here will cancel. I'm going to have negative 11 is less than or equal to, nothing happened to my sign, 13 plus negative 3v. Okay, now I need to get rid of this number right here, the addition and subtraction. So let's subtract 13 from both sides. Draw your line. Again, we're going to bring this straight down. Since we're just adding and subtracting, let's bring the symbol straight down. We won't change it. So we're going to get negative 24, and we're going to get negative 3v right there. Alright, so now let's divide by our coefficient. Divide by negative 3. And this is kind of the reason why I set it up to go this way, because I wanted to get a little practice with this and remind us that when we are dividing by a negative, we have to circle our inequality. Okay, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip your inequality. So this is going to be greater than or equal to now. The negatives here will cancel, and I get 8. The negatives and 3 will cancel, so I'm left with v. So it's going to be 8 is greater than or equal to v. So now, since the number is 8, and it says greater than or equal to, we will fill in the number 8. And now we need to determine, it's always harder, at least for me, when the variable is on the right. If it was like v is less than 8 or v is greater than 8, sometimes that makes it easier for me. When the variable is over here, though, it's harder to understand. So sometimes it's okay when the variable's over there to read it from right to left. Just go in the order though. So this would be V is less than 8, or 8 is greater than V. What you know is that V needs to be smaller than 8 because it says that 8 is greater than. So up here, V needs to be smaller than 8. So it's going to go this way. And again, remember, it's filled in because we do have the greater than or equal to. The important part here is that it's the equal to part. And remember, we flipped it because we had a negative. So in this problem, you could have moved the negative 2V and you could have added 2V to both sides, and we would have had a positive 3V over here. But then we wouldn't have gotten practice with flipping our sign. So that was the reason why I wanted to move it that way. So we just get a little practice here with our sign flip. If you want to avoid having to flip the sign, then try to move all of your variables so that way everything is positive. Because remember, when you're adding and subtracting, like right here, this is just subtraction. Okay, so if you're just doing adding and subtracting variables, your sign will never flip. So that was kind of why I encouraged you all when we were solving multi-step equations. I encouraged everyone to try to keep the variable positive, because in the future, like what we're doing now in inequalities, it's better to have it be positive because then you don't have to worry about a sign flip. But if you do make it negative, no problem. Just remember that when you multiply or divide by a negative number, the inequality symbol must be flipped. All right, so let's try the next one. We go negative 7 plus negative 2x is less than negative 4x plus 3. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and now let's do it the way we're supposed to try to do it, and try to have positive variables. So that way I can give you an example like that as well. So the negative 4x is smaller than negative 2x. So let's add 4x to both sides. Okay, you have your line. Since we're just adding or subtracting, the symbol stays the same. So I'm just going to have that less than symbol. So negative 7 plus 2x, because negative 2, I owe 2 and I have 4. It's going to be I have 2. And then this is going to be 0. And then I'm going to have 3 over here. Now let's add 7 to both sides to get rid of that constant. So I'm going to have 2x. Now remember, we're just adding and subtracting, so the inequality comes straight down. We don't change it. Is less than, we're going to end up with 10. Okay, so now notice what we did here. Since we got rid of the smaller variable and moved it over to the other side, we ended up with a positive variable here, and now we don't have to worry about the inequality flipping. So again, this is why I encouraged everyone when we were solving multi-step equations to try to do it that way, because I knew that once we got to inequalities, this is going to be better for you. So now if we divide by 2 on both sides, the coefficient is 2. We're going to get x is less than 5. Yes, we are dividing, but we're dividing by a positive number, so the sign does not flip. It just comes straight down. So notice here we have x is less than 5. It does not say equal to, but x is less than 5. So let's put an open circle at 5, and we want to be less than 5, so it's going to go this way. Okay. All right, for example 5, again, copy this down. 4n plus negative 18 is less than 4 times the quantity n plus negative 5. Quantity plus 2n. All right, so we have some distributing going on here. Nothing to simplify over here. Let's just go ahead and do some distribution on this side. So we have 4n plus negative 18 is less than 4n plus negative 20. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20 plus 2n. All right, now I need to simplify or combine like terms on the right-hand side. So let's copy it down. 4n plus negative 18 is less than 6n plus negative 20. Okay. Now, I would like to give you another example on flipping the sign. So I'm actually going to get rid of the bigger one here. So we're going to go negative 6n, negative 6n. We're just subtracting here, so we're not going to do a sign flip right now. So we're just subtracting. Keep that in mind. Okay, but I am going to end up with a negative 2n. Okay, so whenever you have a negative variable, you know at the very end you're going to flip this, but just wait until then. So plus negative 18, this is 0, and I have negative 20. All right, let's go ahead and add our constant. We have plus 18, draw your line. Since we're just adding and subtracting, bring your inequality symbol down just the way it is. We have negative 2n, this is 0, and I have a negative 2. All right, now I'm dividing by negative 2, so circle your inequality because now I'm multiplying or dividing by a negative number. Whenever you circle your inequality, just as a reminder that you need to flip your sign in your answer. So again, whatever you do to one side, do it to the other. Negatives cancel, 2's cancel. I have n is greater than, okay, negatives cancel, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So n is greater than 1, not equal to, just greater than. So open circle at 1. And we want n to be greater than 1. Okay, so again, this is another example that I wanted to show you of a time where we would have to flip the symbol. You could have avoided this. Okay, remember what I did. I moved the 6n. 6n is greater than 4n. So if you would have moved the 4n, you would not have had to flip the symbol. So again, just kind of keep that in mind. If you don't mind flipping the symbol, then it really doesn't matter to you which way you do it at all, and it shouldn't matter to any of us which way you do it. We should be able to solve it correctly anyways. But if you would like to avoid having to remember to flip the symbol, always get rid of your least variable expression. So 4n would have been our least one, and that would have gave us, if we would have subtracted 4n from both sides, it would give us a positive 2n over here, which meant we wouldn't have had to divide by a negative. All right, so we have negative 26 plus 6a is greater than negative times the quantity 4 plus 5a. Okay, remember this here, this negative is really like a negative 1. Negative 1 times all of this. We do need to distribute that negative symbol throughout our quantity. So we have negative 26 plus 6a is greater than negative 4 plus negative 5a. All right, now let's go ahead and carefully move our variable expression. Okay, if I want to have a positive variable expression, I want to get rid of this negative. So plus 5a on both sides. Now remember, we're just adding or we're subtracting here, so the inequality stays the same. So I have negative 26 plus 11a is greater than negative 4, and this part here is 0. All right. Now let's get rid of our constant by adding 26 to both sides. All right, bring your, this is 0, so we have 11a, and since we're just adding and subtracting, we bring our inequality down. It's greater than 22. All right, now we're going to divide by 11. Now we're dividing, yes, but it is a positive number, so the sign stays the same. So this is kind of where the 11s will cancel. 22 divided by 11 is 2. So again, if you set it up like this and move it the correct way, you won't have to flip your sign in the end. However, if you decided you want to get rid of the positive 6a, then you would have had a negative 11a over here, and we would have been dividing by a negative, which would have caused you to flip it. So a is greater than 2. We're not going to include 2 because it's just greater than, so greater than 2 is going to go this way. One last example for today, and this one is kind of a unique one, so I wanted to give it and put it in here to mix it in. So 2 times quantity 1 plus negative v plus 2 is less than negative 2v plus 4. All right, let's go ahead and do some distribution. So I get 2 plus negative 2v plus 2 is less than negative 2v plus 4. All right, so let's combine some like terms here. We have negative 2v plus 4 is less than negative 2v plus 4. Okay, this is very interesting here. Notice I have the same thing on both sides. So think about what's going to happen when we try canceling all this stuff. Watch here. We'll go ahead and do it. Plus 2v on both sides. All right, this is going to be 0. You're going to bring your 4 down. Since we're adding and subtracting, you're going to bring your inequality down. This is also 0, and we're going to bring our 4 down. So what this says is 4 is less than 4. Does that even make sense? How can 4 be less than 4? Well, it can't. So if you ever end up with an inequality that looks like this, okay, the answer is no solution. Because if we get rid of all of our variable expressions, this thing should be true. It should say 3 is less than 4. Okay, it should be true then if we get rid of everything. However, this one is not. It says that 4 is less than 4, which is not possible. So that means no matter what you put in for V, this statement will not be true. This statement will not be true at all. Okay, it's kind of like solving an equation, and at the end you're getting 3 equals 7. Is that true? Absolutely not. Okay, so you would say no solution. All right, the same thing is happening here. You're getting 4 is less than 4, which is not possible. So the answer to a problem that ends like this is no solution. Okay, if you have any questions on homework, be sure to check the answer key which I posted to Moodle.